This forecast update effective around 4:30 Eastern Standard Time on Friday, November 22nd, 2013. And here's the latest swell forecast, guys, for the Atlantic, the upcoming forecast for the Gulf of Mexico, and what it looks like after Thanksgiving. Starts you off with this North Atlantic storm that has developed over the last 24 to 48 hours. Seas has maxed at 31 feet yesterday, dropped down to 25 feet this morning in northwest swell. There are 16 to 18 second swell periods that are supposed to develop over the next 24 hours. We're going to be watching for it on the buoys tomorrow morning. Over here towards the right is what's left of Tropical Storm Melissa, now ex-Tropical Storm Melissa. But this is the North Atlantic storm. Seas are going to slowly subside as this moves off towards the northeast, at least associated with this system. There'll be another little reinforcing bump coming with it this weekend. Hopefully that'll keep the little wave train going, but that's what this is looking like at the moment. Here's what the swell forecast looks like. Again, 16 to 18 second swell periods developing between now and tomorrow. When this image was generated, the storm was located right in here, and the storm is probably right in here now in actual time. But as the northwest-west winds kicked in, this is what's got this west-northwest swell going. And by Sunday, you can see that the swell has moved well past the 30 line and now approaching the 20 line. And then between Sunday and Monday is when the bulk of the swell is going to hit. So as you can see, Saturday, or late Saturday, Sunday, or could be Sunday into Monday. Timing a suspect at the moment. Need to verify it on the buoys first. But as you can see, it blasts past the islands in the 72-hour mark. So from 48 to 72. Now, the next thing that we're going to be watching for is for an area of low pressure to develop in the Gulf of Mexico over in the western side. And here's the most recent thunderstorm color curve satellite loop, and as you can see, convection is starting to build down the Texas coast and down in here towards Mexico. Now, models have been hinting that this is the area where they suggest that an area of low pressure is going to spin up, move up through the southeast states and towards the mid-Atlantic, and possibly become a coastal storm for the northeast states. Here's what it looked like in the model images. Again, this is the GFS for the midnight run of the GFS from last night. We're not going to look at this afternoon's 12Z run of the GFS. We're going to stick with this run for the time being. And again, there's going to be more runs to go with it. But again, here is this area of low pressure in the western Gulf of Mexico that starts to pop up on Sunday in this current run. Strong northeast flow coming off the mid-Atlantic in down here towards East Florida, across the state and into the Gulf of Mexico. A possible gale developing in here in the western half of the Gulf of Mexico, down in here to the Bay of Campeche. When we get into Tuesday, we see that the low pressure again moves up towards the Texas coast. This is going to switch the winds more out of a southeast direction, and it looks like a solid bump coming for the Panhandle Tuesday into Wednesday. Probably Wednesday, the winds will go offshore coming out of the north, and that'll turn around and give West Florida a chance for a solid bump coming in Wednesday to Thursday. So we're going to be watching for that as well. When we get into Wednesday, like we talked about, here comes the offshore winds on the backside of the low right here, over towards East Florida. Wind coming out of the southwest and out of the south as the low starts to lift towards the north. Could be some cleanup, small suck up wind swell behind this low as it begins to pull off towards the mid-Atlantic. When we get in here again towards Thursday, we're going to be getting into that return northwest flow behind this low as it departs off towards the northeast. And when we get into Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, again, if you saw our earlier post, we've got some strong northerly winds coming out of Canada, filtering on down the east coast of the United States down into Florida. Looks like it's going to get pretty chilly. Now, we will take a look at what's going to happen on Friday, day after Thanksgiving, if this model holds true. As you can see, the area of low pressure deepens pretty much on Friday, and there's a strong pressure gradient through the northeast states here. But coming back down into Florida, we got a strong northeast wind flow into Florida, and then an easterly flow coming across the Gulf of Mexico. When we get into Friday late, you can see that the high pressure, again, exact same pattern that we've been under over the last 3 weeks. High pressure off the mid-Atlantic or centered over the mid-Atlantic with a solid north-northeast flow coming off the Atlantic in here into Florida and then through the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the wild card slot is going to be, or the wild card shot is going to be this area of low pressure over here towards the eastern Atlantic. In this model run, it's not showing it developing, but the ECMWF and the GFS in previous runs was actually showing an area of low pressure over here. So keep this in mind, because with the strong northeast flow setup off the U.S. and another northeast flow setup over here towards the East Atlantic, that is a lot of northeast fetch aimed at the islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, the Bahamas, and to Florida. So we could see, depending on what happens with the winds, if they back off and this area of low pressure develop out here towards the East Atlantic, we could see by next weekend or the beginning of the first week of December some solid swell with surf alert conditions. Keep that in mind, guys. It's a long ways out, but it's what we're going to be watching for in the next several model runs as we progress through the week. That's all we got for you for now. Stay tuned for the next update.